Hey everybody, welcome to DIY with Herman James. I'm Herman James, and on today's episode, we're upgrading my e-bike's bike tires to be indestructible. What's up everybody? Thank you for tuning in. As the intro said, on today's episode I'm going to be changing my bike tire, my e-bike tire, to make it a little more indestructible. If you were listening to the podcast months and years ago and have seen it on social media, I have built an e-bike for very, very cheap by buying all the parts myself from Amazon, using an old bike I already had and using Alibaba to get the best price for batteries and other things shipped directly over from China. And my e-bike does about 37 miles an hour on a flat without me having to pedal at all, and it is highly questionable. It is a sketchy ride, but I do love it. It is fun. I actually ride it more around town than I thought I would, and here locally in Sacramento we actually take them to the breweries and take them on back streets, so we're not having to go on main streets and trying to honestly just save the environment a little bit and save on gas. It's just a nice way to get out when it's 75, 80, 90 degrees here in Sacramento versus having to get in my car, warm it up, and then having to turn the AC on to cool the interiors down. So the reason I am looking to upgrade the tires on it, well, mainly the tube, is because I blew a tube. The tire itself is perfectly fine. It's a mountain bike tire, but the tube is probably 15 years old. It came with the bike when I got it from Amazon when I was in college, and I used it to commute to and from school. So what I've done is I've done some research and looked at trying to find the best way to make my bike itself indestructible. So what we have here is a Tuffy. It has great reviews. It's a liner that's going to go underneath my tube and the tire itself, and then I've got slime tires. So what we're looking at for these is the fact that it's supposed to have slime injected into the tube already, so that it's not gonna have to worry about me fixing the hole and patching it up. They're supposed to already have it in there and supposed to be perfectly fine. Once you puncture it, then it's going to fill itself up with the slime and you should be good to go and not even have to worry about doing anything for it. Maybe add a little bit of extra air to it once you've blown the tire a little bit, had a little bit of air coming out. But I'm hoping with the combination of the liner here and the slime tube up here, I should no longer have to worry about potentially getting a flat somewhere and ending up stranded on the road and trying to patch it. All my bikes have patch kits and tools on them already, so I won't get stranded out somewhere. But some days it is super cold in the morning, and the last thing I'm trying to do on the side of the road is patch a tire. So let's pull out the e-bike and see what we've got going on. It was a foldable bike that cost me a few $100s in college to be able to put in the back of my car and in the lockers. As you can see here, this is just toast. But right here, this one's perfectly fine. Control unit, I believe this is a 1200 watt battery and a 1000 watt motor. So this thing is fun and it'll go. So let's get this tire off. Of course, not quick release, and take a look at what we're looking at. These guys right here are torque washers. These little guys go into the holes on the stems to make sure that this tire doesn't pop out ever, which is why I had to undo it a little bit more than normal. And since it's not quick release, it just holds the tire in. If you have a motor on the front of your e-bike, this is going to hold the actual tire in from moving, which I actually have on the back there as well. But now, let's change this tube. So now I've got the tube here. Obviously the air's already out of it, so there's not much else I'm gonna need to do except for getting it all taken apart. So cap, and you should just be able to push this up here and kind of break these guys free. There are some bike tools that will get the rim off of here and make it a little more easy to do. I honestly just bend this tire itself and should be perfectly fine to work it out that way. And since I'm not horribly worried about this having any issues, I'll grab a screwdriver. Oh, not a screwdriver. This is just an interior car trim tool. If you have them, great. If you don't, also perfectly fine. But being that it's plastic, it should also help me just get right in between here and get the tube out, and then should be able to just run this the length of the wheel as I'm working this tube out. Oof. That smells horrible. And just like that, the tire is good and off on that side. I'm going to take the whole thing off completely. Because I want to line the inside of this tube with the Tuffy liner. But first, I gotta get this guy out. Alright. Tube and tire separated. Now, I didn't see anything in particular that was on the tube that caused the puncture, but again, the tube itself is very old, and it came with the bike years and years ago. And right here. It's hard to see, but right there. Something punctured the little guy right there, enough not to ever let it be used again. So let's see what we got here. So the Tuffy liner here is supposed to be really good, and we'll follow the instructions on it. It's made for this specific tire, this specific rim. The numbers on here are going to tell you exactly what you want to have for it, which is what I got it for. This is highly rated. A friend of mine actually already had his on his e-bike after he punctured the tire once or twice, so I'm going off of what he did because it works. And it's not just a fake Amazon review and people paying me for it. He's getting great results, so let's get it on here. So now, this should be relatively straightforward. They come with two, and you're supposed to just line the inside of the tube, the tire, and it should have no problems once it's there. So just gonna lay it on the inside here and hold it down with one finger and kind of roll it in and see how well it's going to work. It's not rocket science. It doesn't take any tools or any effort. They said it's supposed to be a pretty much exact fit and to not cut any. So if there's a little bit of an overlap, let it go, and when the tire's in, it will push it out to fill the entirety of it. So now that we've got that in there, let's go for the slime tube. If you want to take a look, got there for you. Again, this came with mixed reviews. Some said that right out of the box their tubes were punctured or blown or whatever. Okay, that's not a poor review on the product. I mean, it could be, but the reality is that you didn't know how the product was initially, and so it could have been a shipment thing, it could have been a bad batch, we just don't know. So now on this, just make sure you know where the valve is, because you need to make sure you're going to put that back correctly on the tire. But truthfully, that shouldn't be an issue. For me, I'm just going to line this in here and then try to seat everything back on the tire. Others will have left the tube, the tire on the wheel halfway and just slid this in, and that works. With the tube being as old as it was actually pretty well stuck inside the tire, so I really wanted to just get everything out as best as I could and do it the right way. Alright, so like I said, make sure you have the stem where you have the hole for the tube or for the tire. That way you're not trying to put it on and it's mixed up. Now, there are special instructions for doing this that we'll take a look at. That involves potentially taking off the Schrader valve itself, but we're not there yet. So let's see if we can just fit everything back in, sliding the back portion on first, making sure that's in the groove. And once that's in properly, then I will make sure the top goes in. But right now, just need to make sure everything is where it is and it's not getting bunched up behind the wheel, and in the rim. Alright, as you can hear, I've got my compressor on. We're going to use this guy because it's got a little gauge on it. Alright, we're on even 55. And it's kind of decreasing because that's on there. But it's a solid 55 PSI. Listening to it, but I am hearing some hissing, so I'm not sure if it's got a hole in or not. So we'll wait because it could have the expanding foam in it, and we'll see. But right now, doing pretty good. So after about a minute or so, I kept listening, and forgive me, deaf in one ear. So what I was hearing was a hissing, but it was because my compressor was leaking a little bit of the air out. The tire, nothing. It's been solidly good, no leaks. You can always spray some soapy water around it to check, but this is awesome. It's looking great. Tire's back in full form, and I can always check the tire pressure with a quick gauge. You used to be able to get these for like 25 cents or sometimes even free at auto parts stores. I think now they go for $1, but it's a very no frills, no big deal idea, but it'll give you usually a good idea of where you're at. So that's maxed out at 50 PSI, and it's at 55, so it's good. Let's strap this back on to the bike. Alright, now we'll be able to put this guy back on the bike. Now, tread is directional, so if you can't tell, like I can't, which way is which, take a look at your tube. And sometimes you'll see an arrow like this. Hopefully you can see that guy right there. And that tells you how the tire is supposed to roll. So that's how you want to make sure you put the tread on for that. So you have tread. Let's put it back on. And there you have it. Quick way of making sure I'm never getting a flat again and I'm not left out in the boonies. If you want to take a closer look at what I'm talking about for the torque nuts right here, some of these bikes are built with this hole to make sure that this tire will never pop off. Now, a nice thing for the brakes, you can just pull this piece up and out like I did here, and that releases the brakes so that you don't have to undo them, you don't have to tighten them, everything stays the same, so you never mess with them, and this comes perfectly off and you're good to go. Now, I am liking the way that this is looking for me. I need to make sure that everything is spaced out right, what it should be, so I'll go for a test ride with it, see how I like it, and I'm sure it's gonna be perfectly fine. No longer do I have to worry about flat tires, and at the very least, if I get a flat, it'll be full. But I also already have tools in the back here that I keep with me every time I'm going to go somewhere. So if I do, I've got a pump there, patch kits in here, I've got another set of brakes in there, chargers, everything I need in there. I always have something in my pack here for this bike, and then my other bike that I have right here, you can see down below there, I've actually got a pack under that seat Well, you should always have a pack of tools with you and a spare tire or something to make sure if you get stuck somewhere or stranded somewhere, you can repair it. I'm good to go for myself, but there's always something that's going to pop up that I probably wasn't prepared for. It's typically how I work. I do things on the cheap, but I do it well. Same with the show, the podcast, and my repairs. I'm not going to pay the top dollar for something that I can get the exact same price for and quality if I just shop around it longer. My bike's repaired, I'm good to go, I'm ready to go for a ride before the sun sets. So, and this is your first time tuning in, hit that subscribe or like button down below. If you think I botched this, tell me below. If you liked it, leave a comment. Let me know what you think and what you're trying to do to save money to do your own repairs. Thanks guys, I can't wait to be in your eyes and ears next time.